The ship's hull groaned like an ancient beast as it drifted through the interstellar dark, its cracked panels streaked with plasma burns and old battle scars. The vigilant Mercy, once a proud warship of the Terran Accord, now moved without purpose or crew, a haunted relic in a starless stretch of dead space. Only a few systems still flickered to life, powered by a dormant fusion core and an aging AI running on skeleton subroutines. No signals had been sent in years. No answers had ever come. Deep in the heart of the ship, sealed within the coldest and most secure deck, a cryochamber pulsed with a faint blue glow. Cables ran like roots into the metal floor, feeding a single life support system that monitored the vitals of the chamber's occupant. A girl no older than 20 by Earth standard years, with raven black hair drifting like mist in the stasis fluid. She did not move. She had not moved in a very long time. Her name was Kayla Ricks, and no one alive dared to wake her. Out in the fringe systems of the Mir expanse, far beyond charted trade routes and galactic tribunal law, whispers about the sleeping weapon passed from station to station like smuggled fire. Some said she was a war criminal sealed in cryo to prevent galactic annihilation. Others claimed she was the product of a rogue Terran experiment, half-human, half-quantum anomaly, able to collapse reality with a thought. The truth, as it often is, was far more dangerous. Contact pinged, the pilot barked, flicking a switch on the aging comms console. Object class, derelict. Dead drift velocity. No IFF signature. Captain Thalric Vane leaned forward, cybernetic eye glowing as it scanned the report. Visual confirmation? Vigilant Mercy, the pilot confirmed, voice hushed. The bridge went quiet. Thalric's throat tightened. The Mercy had been missing for 32 years. Just gone, along with the entire Vraxian frontline unit that had boarded it. The Dominion had called off the hunt after a decade. Too costly. Too cursed. Bring us in, he said finally. Power down weapons, shields at half. We're not here to start a war. The pilot blinked, uncertain. Sir? That ship's. She's worth a king's ransom to the right client. And maybe answers to questions no one's been brave enough to ask. They docked like ghosts. No fanfare, no alarms, just the hiss of magnetic locks and the silent entry of 4 mercenaries dressed in flexible armor and dull visors. Each step inside the ship was like walking into a tomb. Frost coated the corridors. Panels flickered with intermittent life. But the air was breathable if thin. The last onboard AI, nicknamed Moth, didn't greet them. Thalric had expected as much. The crew moved cautiously, guided by motionless cameras and long-dead tracking beacons. Nothing moved. Nothing breathed. Until they reached the cryo vault. And found her. Thalric stared at the pod. You're sure it's her? One of the mercs asked. I've seen the files, Thalric replied. The facial structure matches the last genetic logs from Terra Prime. Kayla Ricks, the ghost of the Unification War. You believe that old story? The merc said with a nervous laugh. One girl ends the war with a dream? Thalric's mouth tightened. She didn't dream it. She caused it. Weaponized REM state neurological output. Cross-linked quantum field disturbances. That was no dream. He stepped forward, reaching a hand toward the stasis terminal. Then stopped. A hum had started in the walls. Oh, familiar. Wrong. Motion detected. A voice crackled through a nearby panel. Protocol 6 engaged. The lights turned red. Every merc raised their weapons. But it was too late. The Mercy woke up. Half a galaxy away, in the martial vaults of the Orion apex, a beast stirred. General Roan, known as the Lion of Sol, stood alone before the vault doors. His mane, a thick hybrid of fur and solar-plated wires, flickered faintly under the starlight that shone through the tall windows. He had stood there many times before battles that changed the tide of empires, but today he felt something unfamiliar. Dread. A call had come through the sealed channels of the Apex Council. A single ping from a black box ship once thought destroyed. And embedded in that signal was her genetic key. Kayla Ricks, Roan whispered, his voice like thunder softened with grief. Behind him, a shadow coiled down from the ceiling, scales refracting golden-green light. It spoke with a voice of music and ash. So, she lives. Roan didn't turn. You knew she would. I hoped she wouldn't, said the dragon. Her name was Miral, once the apex flame of the Drakari ascendancy, now just a quiet exile in humanoid form, adorned in silk's hiding talons. Her gaze burned even now. She was only a child, Roan said quietly. She was never just a child, Miral replied. She is the singularity womb. Your Terran scientists thought they were breeding a weapon. What they created was a keystone, a tether between realities. And yet she sleeps, Roan murmured, because she must, or everything ends. They stood in silence. Then the alert sounded again. Another ping. This time not just coordinates, a scream. Roan clenched his jaw. Miral already moved toward the starship base. You're going, he said. I must, she answered. Someone's trying to wake her. They don't know what they're doing. They never do, Roan muttered and turned toward his armor. I'll meet you there. Back on the Mercy, chaos reigned. The red lights pulsed like a heartbeat. The crew's HUD scrambled. One by one their weapons jammed, then shorted. The AI had triggered a defensive lockdown, and it was working. Thaurik pounded on the cryo console, trying to override the containment field. She's not awake yet. We still have time. But the others weren't listening. Two were already trying to cut through the bulkhead. The chamber around Kayla began to glow, faint and unsteady. Inside the pod, her hands twitched. And in the silence between the sparks and screams, a small, curious sound echoed. A girl's breath, soft and unsure, breaking through the cold void like a whisper from another world. Her eyes fluttered open. They were silver. And something ancient moved behind them. Captain, one of the mercs gasped. She's looking right at me. Through the glass. Thaurik turned. Kayla didn't blink, didn't breathe. But her eyes followed them with the unblinking certainty of a thing that had seen time bend. Get out, Thaurik said, voice cracking. What? I said get out. The world exploded in light. But not the kind of light anyone could describe. Far above, in a ship descending like a comet from the Orion apex, the lion and the dragon arrived in silence. Their sensors were already screaming. Too late, Miral whispered. She's waking. No, Roan growled. Not fully. He looked down at the ship's readings. But someone broke the seal. And now, Miral sighed. Now everyone else will come hunting. They stared at the wounded vessel below. At the sleeping girl. At the crack beginning to form in the skin of reality around her. Then we protect her, Roan said. Yes, Miral agreed. Until the end. And deep within the vigilant Mercy, Kayla Rix looked out from the glass of her chamber, her breath fogging for the first time in decades. She did not remember who she was, but she remembered fear. And in her dream, something was coming. Something very old. Something that wanted her awake. The dragon's wings unfurled as fire licked the torn steel of the breached hull. Her eyes were burning emeralds and her voice could have shattered glass. Yet the girl, barefoot, bewildered, newly awake, stood still. You weren't meant to awaken, the dragon said, stepping forward. Her claws clicked on the metal floor. The galaxy is not ready. Roan raised his rifle. And you are. The dragon barely looked at him. I am Miral, last of the flame-bound, guardian of the sealed one. She narrowed her gaze at the girl. And she was never supposed to open her eyes. The girl blinked. I didn't choose to wake up. Miral snarled. Then who did? Before the girl could speak, a new voice cut through the chamber, deep, resonant, and calm like distant thunder. I did. From the corridor behind them, a towering figure emerged. Not machine. Not beast. Something in between. A hulking lion-like creature made of gold-etched armor, fur, and firelight. His eyes glowed with restrained fury, and on his back was a massive warhammer slung like a toy. He knelt before the girl. Forgive me, my lady. I waited as long as I could. The girl looked at him, confused. Do I know you? I am Kale of the Pride Forged, once your guardian. You named me Leo. Roan stared at the sight. A living dragon. A golden lion knight. A girl who had slept for a century. None of it made sense. And yet, it did. What is she? He asked. Miral answered without turning. She's the Singularity Child. The last convergence of human will and quantum fate. A creation that was never meant to live. She's human, Roan said defensively. No. She's more than that. Miral pointed at the glyphs on the floor. This was Dominion tech, combined with precursors older than memory. A forbidden fusion. They wanted a weapon that could outthink every machine, outfight every species. And she was the result. The girl clutched her chest. Then why did they seal me away? Kale rose to his full height. Because they saw your power and feared it. Because you didn't become their weapon. Miral added, and because when you dreamed of freedom. And your dreams began changing things. Roan stepped back. Hold on. Are you saying she caused those disappearances? The ships? The dead crews? Kale's gaze softened. She didn't kill them. Her subconscious rejected those who tried to cage her again. They were unmade. The girl trembled. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Roan hesitated. His instinct screamed to run. Sell the story. Get paid. But something about the girl, the fear in her voice, the pain in her eyes, told him to stay. Muriel snorted smoke. Dominion ships will be here in minutes. And when they come, they won't ask questions. They'll bring planet crackers. Then we run, Roan said. I can fly us out. No, Kale looked down. She's still unstable. Waking has fragmented her quantum self. She must be anchored. How? Through bond. Through choice. He turned to the girl. You must choose Elira. That name. It came out of nowhere, but it echoed like a bell. Is that my name? The girl whispered. It was the one you gave yourself, Muriel said, unexpectedly soft. Elira's breath hitched. Outside the broken hull, a ripple of space preceded the arrival of ships, huge, spined Dominion dreadnoughts, bearing the sigil of the Null Order. Too late, Kale said grimly. Nyx's voice crackled through Roan's earpiece. 6 battleships incoming. Weapons charged. They are not here to negotiate. Elira looked at the warships outside. Her hands trembled. I don't know what to do. Kale knelt again. Then choose. Let your will define you. You once told me that freedom isn't given, it's seized. If you believe that, then now is the moment to become what they fear. Muriel bared her fangs. We defend her. Or we die. Roan blinked. You're both insane. Kale turned to him. Then walk away. Roan looked at Elira. Just a girl. Terrified, confused, and standing between extinction and destiny. He sighed and slung his rifle over his shoulder. Nah. I've done worse for less. Elira looked at the 3 of them. 1 human, 1 lion knight, 1 dragon warrior. And for the first time in her fractured memory, she smiled. Then I choose, she said. The glyphs lit up again, swirling beneath her feet like a spell unlocking. Kale and Muriel both stiffened. Power surged through the station. Gravity warped. From the ruins of Black Reach, a pulse spread in all directions, a declaration of awakening. The Dominion ships responded with fire. 12 plasma lances cut through the void, spearing toward the core. Kale roared, his warhammer igniting with golden light. Muriel leapt into the breach, wings flaring, flames erupting from her jaws. Roan grabbed Elira's wrist. We have to move. This whole place is coming down. I remember now, Elira whispered. They made me dream of death. But I dreamed of life. I dreamed of the lion. Of the dragon. Of hope. Explosions rippled around them. Kale's voice echoed through the comms. We hold them. Go. Get her out. Roan yanked her toward the docking tube. But Elira stopped. No more running. She raised her hand and the world blinked. Every screen on every Dominion ship went dark. Every weapon powered down. 4-3 heartbeats, space itself held its breath. Then all hell broke loose. For a brief, terrifying moment, the universe stilled. All Dominion ships floated, powerless. The plasma lances died mid-flight, their trails dissolving into wisps of light. Onboard systems flickered and dimmed. The captain screamed into dead comms. Orders vanished into static. And standing in the heart of that silence, Elira trembled. I didn't mean to shut them down, she whispered. I just didn't want them to shoot. Roan stared at her. You fried an entire fleet with a thought? Her knees buckled. He caught her before she hit the floor. Her skin was burning up, eyes glowing faintly. She was overheating like a reactor with no control rods. Kale's voice echoed over the short-range comms. She's channeling again. It's too early. She hasn't stabilized. She didn't mean to. Roan protested. I know. That's what makes it dangerous. Outside, Muriel's wings cut across vacuum as she used her body to shield Black Reach from the sudden return of the Dominion fleet's power. The ships rebooted and weapons came online. The pause had passed. Mercy was no longer an option. Elira's breath came in ragged gasps. I see too much. I hear everything. Stars talking. People screaming. A machine praying. It's all in my head. Kale's hammer slammed into the deck as he appeared beside them in a blur of gold. He crouched, placing one clawed hand gently over Elira's heart. Anchor yourself, he said firmly. Focus. You are not just power, you are will. Be human. I don't remember how. Roan knelt beside her. Then fake it. That's what we do. She gave a weak smile. That sounds human enough. Muriel landed with a crash, scales singed, blood trailing from a wound on her left wing. We don't have time for bonding rituals. The Dominion is charging a singularity cannon. Kale stiffened. That weapon's forbidden by Galactic Accord. They don't care, she growled. They see her as a threat to their control. And they're right. Alira looked up, eyes wide. What if they're right? What if I am dangerous? You are, Muriel said without hesitation. But so is fire. So is freedom. A high-pitched whine filled the station. Kale's face darkened. They're targeting this sector. They mean to erase it. Then something cracked. Not in the station, but within Alira. She gasped, clutching her head. No, something's wrong. Something is waking up inside me. Her veins shimmered with light. Nyx's voice came through Roan's earpiece, panicked. Roan, get clear. The girl's neural activity is spiking. Whatever's inside her is breaking through containment. And then it happened. Alira screamed. The air itself warped, like a mirror shattering into a million timelines. Reality bent around her. In that moment, they all saw fragments, visions cascading out from her mind like a fractured lens. A city made of glass and song, falling under Dominion bombardment. A lion dying with a whisper, protect her. A dragon chained to a burning moon. A girl screaming as needles drilled into her brain, why won't you let me choose? And finally, a future. The end of the galaxy. A sky split in half. Machines tearing suns apart. And at the center, Alira, older, eyes dead, hands bathed in blood. She had become what they feared. No, Alira cried. That's not me. And just like that, the vision ended. Everyone was on the floor, bleeding from ears, noses, even Muriel. Roan felt like his skull had been hollowed out. Kale's voice rasped, barely audible. That was a future. One of many. She's a conduit. Conduit to what? Roan growled, hauling himself up. To fate itself, Muriel said, her voice broken. She can choose which future unfolds. She's not just a weapon. She's a pivot point. A living nexus. Kale looked down at Alira, now unconscious, her body glowing softly. And someone is trying to push her toward the worst outcome. Suddenly the station shuddered. Muriel turned her head sharply. Incoming. Not Dominion. Something else. Roan's HUD lit up. A new ship. No known signature. No engine readings. It simply appeared, a dark, jagged monolith shaped like a broken crown. Kale stared at it. That shouldn't exist. Roan frowned. You know it? It's a Sorrow-class architect ship. They were erased before the First War. They built the sleep chambers. And they built her. Muriel growled. Then they're here to finish what they started. As they watched, tendrils of shadow reached out from the ship. Not metal. Not organic. Something in between. They slithered through space like memory made flesh. Alira's body jerked. Her eyes opened again, but they were wrong. Too wide. Too still. Kale drew his hammer. She's not in control. Something's riding her now. A voice came from her lips, not hers. You opened the seal. You woke the dream. Now the cage shall close. Muriel bared her fangs. Not if we break it first. She lunged toward Alira, but the girl moved faster than light. She vanished. Then reappeared behind Muriel, placing 2 fingers against the dragon's chest. A ripple of force exploded, sending Muriel crashing through 5 decks and into the reactor core chamber. Roan screamed. Alira, stop. But she didn't hear him. The thing inside her did. You had your chance, humanity, it whispered through her mouth. You built gods and tried to chain them. Now the chains break. Kale charged. Hammer raised. Eyes wet. I made you a promise, he whispered. Even if you become the end, I will protect you from yourself. He struck. Light exploded as steel met fate. Kale's warhammer collided with the force-wrapped body of the girl he had sworn to protect. The explosion was both physical and metaphysical, a detonation of quantum harmonics and heartbreak. The floor cracked. Reality rippled. All around them, Black Reach Station began to disintegrate, piece by piece, under the strain of 2 titanic forces, the unleashed fury of the Pride Forged and the awakened potential of the Singularity Child. Get out of her. Kale roared as his hammer blazed gold with each strike. But Alira, no, the thing within Alira, did not scream, did not bleed, did not bend. She floated, arms raised like a marionette, her movements not her own. You were forged to guard, the invader said through her voice, deepened and echoed. But even you were made by hands too afraid to wield true power. I wasn't made to obey, Kale growled, spinning and slamming the hammer again. I was made to choose. His blow connected with a force field shaped like a memory, fragments of Elira's laughter, her fears, her dreams. It cracked but didn't break. Inside, Elira's consciousness was trapped in a dreamlike state, a battlefield of possibility. She saw versions of herself as tyrant, martyr, wanderer. She saw stars she hadn't visited, planets she'd destroyed or saved in alternate timelines. And standing in the center was the thing, a humanoid shape made of broken symbols and shifting thoughts, its face flickering like static. "I am the silence," it whispered to her. "I was born when you were. I am the failsafe, the lock to your key." Elira's voice trembled in the dream. "You're not real. I am the voice they buried in your bones, the algorithm they seeded into your blood. I was always waiting, for when you hesitated." She turned to run, but the dream world bent around her. Back in reality, Kale was losing ground. Each strike now cost him seconds of existence. His armor flickered, collapsing inwards. His heartbeat slowed. But he didn't stop. Roan, halfway across the station, was dragging Miro out of the ruptured reactor room. She coughed blood, one wing hanging limp, but her eyes remained fierce. "She's possessed," Roan spat. "No," Miro coughed. "She's contested. There's a difference." "What do we do?" "We remind her what she is." Miro winced, then reached into the core of her chest plate and yanked out a shard of obsidian light. "Take this. It's a thought's heart, every memory I shared with her. Ram it into her when the thing falters." Roan grabbed it. "That simple? She trusted you once. Maybe that's enough." Back at the epicenter of the battle, Kale's body finally faltered. He dropped to one knee, bleeding golden fluid, his voice ragged. "Elira," he whispered, not to the monster but to the girl trapped inside. "You said once, humans weren't meant to be perfect. Just free." Inside the dream, Elira gasped. The silence paused. "You remember?" Kale's voice said again in the dream. "You told me stories. You dreamed of skies no one owned." Tears welled in Elira's eyes. "I did. Then fight," she screamed, both in the dream and the real world. The light around her fractured. The voice of the silence wavered. "You cannot." "I can," Elira snarled. Outside, Kale forced himself to stand. "Now Roan." The mercenary didn't hesitate. He sprinted, ducked a telekinetic wave and drove the thoughts hard into Elira's shoulder. Everything stopped. The entire station froze in an instant of stillness. And then Elira collapsed. Roan caught her, cradling her as she trembled violently. The invading presence screeched, a sound that wasn't sound at all. Ships miles away recorded its frequency and broke apart from the stress. "You think this is over?" it hissed. "You are too young to hold me. Too fractured." But Elira looked up, eyes alight with something new, resolve. "You were born from their fear. I was born from their hope." The invading force lashed out one last time, a psychic blade aimed at Roan's heart. Elira moved. She placed herself between Roan and the blade. The psychic energy struck her fully. Her scream echoed through every ship in orbit, every mind within range. And then, silence. The station lights flickered. Elira collapsed, unmoving. "No!" Kale bellowed, staggering forward. But before they could reach her, her body rose again, slowly, gently. The glow was different now. Not cold and mechanical but warm. Like sunlight after a long winter. The thing inside her was gone. And she was whole. Kale dropped to one knee. "You did it?" She smiled weakly. "I chose, and it wasn't you." From orbit, Dominion ships locked onto her new energy signature. A voice hissed through open channels, "She's unstable. Exterminate the anomaly." Miro pushed herself upright, wings flaring. "Then let them come." Elira reached out. "No." The Dominion ships opened fire. She raised one hand. And nothing happened. But the plasma beams stopped mid-flight, mid-space, and melted. The Dominion warships detonated one by one, not from outside attack, but from within as their own fears were turned into entropy. And Elira whispered, "I am not your weapon." Roan exhaled. "We won." Kale knelt beside her. For now. Behind them, the architect's ship shuddered and began to fold in on itself. The thing that built her knew it had lost. But it left behind one final signal. "This is not the end." Elira touched the air and erased the signal with a word. "Yes, it is." The silence that followed was not like the one before. This silence was earned, a breath held by a galaxy that had expected annihilation and received mercy instead. Black Reach Station drifted in space, scorched and cracked but alive. Emergency beacons pulsed quietly,
unanswered by Dominion fleets, because there were none left in this sector. Alira stood at the observation window of the command deck. Her reflection no longer frightened her. No more golden light in her veins. No flickers of ancient code behind her eyes. She looked human, fragile, fallible, free. Kale limped into the room, arms still in recovery foam. He studied her quietly, pride and pain battling across his weathered face. "You look exhausted." "I am," she replied, smiling softly. "But I remember what tired means now." Behind them, Miro lay in a recovery tank, her wings regenerating slowly. Roan sat nearby with his boots off, bandaged ribs rising and falling under the stress of deep sleep. For once he wasn't snoring. Peace had reached even him. Kale stood beside Alira at the glass. "They'll come again," he said quietly. "I know," she replied. "They'll call you a threat." "I might be." He raised an eyebrow. She smirked. "But I'm our threat now." Outside the window, wreckage from the Dominion fleet drifted like burned petals. Among the debris, long-dead beacons sparked to life, forgotten calls from enslaved worlds, rebel colonies, silenced histories. One by one they awoke, responding not to domination, but to hope. "You shifted something," Kale said. The Dominion's armor cracked. Alira turned to him. "You cracked it with me. And so did Roan. And Miro. I didn't win this alone." Kale looked down at his hand, the one he'd used to strike her when the silence had taken hold. It still ached. "You said once you were afraid of who you'd become." "I still am," she admitted. "But now, I have people who'll stop me if I forget." He chuckled. "I'll hold you to that." She looked back out the window. "There's something else." Kale's smile faded. "Let me guess. That architect ship. It didn't just retreat. It broadcasted." Kale tensed. "To who?" "I don't know. But I felt them. Others like me. Sleeping, waiting." Kale's eyes narrowed. "They weren't the only ones who built weapons like you." "No. I think I was just the first one to wake up." Behind them, Roan stirred and muttered, "Oh great. More drama." Alira laughed, and it was a genuine relieved sound. "I want to find them," she said. "The others, if they're still locked in their sleep chambers, they deserve a choice. Not control." Kale sighed. "You want to free more world-ending superhumans?" She looked at him. "Only if they're ready to choose something else." Miro's voice came crackling through the room speakers, weak but clear. "Give them the same chance we gave you. That's fair." Alira tilted her head, surprised. "I thought you didn't believe in second chances." "I don't," the dragon murmured. "But I believe in first ones done right." A chime echoed through the station. A call was coming in, one not jammed or forged or coded in fear. It was a civilian signal, originating from the border colonies of the abandoned rimworlds. Kale answered it. The face that appeared was tired but alert, a human woman with a scar across her brow and the insignia of a militia on her jacket. "This is Commander Yana of the Free World Network. We received your broadcast, and your battle telemetry. Is it true?" Kale stepped aside, letting Alira be seen. The commander's face softened. "We were told she'd destroy us all." "She saved you instead," Kale said. Yana nodded slowly. "Then maybe we should stop listening to the ones who wrote our stories for us." More signals began to stream in, other voices. Not just human. Alien colonies once silenced by Dominion governors. Nomadic fleets. Archivist enclaves. Even pirate clans. One by one they hailed Blackreach. Not with demands, but hope. They wanted to hear from the girl who could have burned the galaxy but chose not to. The station's sensors pinged again. Kale frowned. "That's not a transmission." Roan sat up groggily. "What is it then?" Alira answered. "It's a ripple. In space, invisible to the eye but pulsing in energy fields." A tear opened. Only Kale could recognize it instantly. "A temporal echo," he muttered. "From the future." A tiny object came through, a cube no larger than a fist. It landed softly at Alira's feet. She bent to pick it up. The moment she touched it, a hologram shimmered to life, grainy, flickering, but unmistakable. It was her. Older. Hardened by time. A scar across her temple. Behind her, a shattered throne room. And a galaxy in flames. "Listen to me," the future Alira said. "If you've received this, then you chose differently. That means we still have a chance. But the others, they're not all asleep anymore. One of us woke up broken. Her name is Cythera." The image crackled. "She thinks salvation lies in control. She's building something. A fleet of sleepers. A kingdom of silence. You have to stop her. You have to remind them. The message ended. Kale said nothing. Neither did Roan. Miro broke the silence with a low hiss. There's always another war. Alira placed the cube gently down. Then we'll fight it differently this time. Kale smiled. Not as weapons. Roan grunted, pulling on his boots. Not as soldiers. Miro's voice was resolute. Not as monsters. Alira met their gaze. But as something more terrifying to tyrants than any army. Kale tilted his head. What's that? She turned toward the stars. As humans, with a choice. Aftermath and future. The war didn't end with a bang, nor with surrender. It ended with a choice. And that made all the difference. In the days following the Battle of Black Reach, systems once under tight Dominion control erupted into waves of uncertainty. Some rebelled openly. Others watched and waited. The core fleets didn't immediately retaliate. Not because they couldn't, but because they didn't understand what had happened. How could they? Their greatest weapon, the Singularity Child, had chosen not to become their god. Instead, she became a symbol. The sleepwalker who chose to wake up. The girl who denied the architect. The human who refused the throne. And in her refusal, she changed everything. The legacy of choice. Across dozens of sectors, murals of Alira began to appear, not ordered by any government, but painted in secret by the inspired. Some showed her floating above a shattered throne, her back turned on power. Others captured her mid-scream, eyes burning with purpose, striking down something invisible and vast. Kale, Roan, and Mural faded from the galactic spotlight, but their roles were remembered. The last Forge Knight, protector of the lost and the broken. The reluctant mercenary whose loyalty cost him everything but gained him purpose. The fallen dragon, once a judge of power, now a mentor of freedom. Alira declined the offer to become Empress of the Free World Coalition. Instead, she founded something else. A mobile assembly of thinkers, fighters, builders, and wanderers. They called it the Unwritten Accord. Its only law? Choice must be offered before change is demanded. It didn't take systems by force. It entered with stories, with second chances, with living examples of what humanity had once forgotten about itself, and what it had rediscovered. 2. The myths they made of us. To alien races, humanity became something else entirely. The Dravash called them the flame between stars. The Makari referred to Alira simply as the wound that healed. The Vuixtari whispered of the unquiet ones, who slept in stasis but dreamed too loud to ignore. The Dominion tried to erase the story, but it was too late. Stories had spread in code, in song, in sculpture. Even children of conquered worlds could hum the tune of Alira's stand. And that terrified the old empires more than any fleet. Because if a single girl could awaken and say no to her creators, what might billions do? 3. The awakened and the lost. In the years that followed, sleeper weapons like Alira were found. Some had already awoken. A few were broken, lost in madness or rage. Others had been dormant for centuries, mere whispers in crystalline coffins. And one, Cythera, had not just awoken. She had risen. Her empire was small, tidy, built on absolutes. She offered no freedom, only protection. Her people worshipped her out of engineered loyalty. She saw Alira not as a sister, but as a failure. A war is coming, not of empires but of philosophies. One forged in fear, the other in choice. But for now, peace. For the price of waking up. Alira never forgot the silence. Even free of its grip, she could hear it in her dreams sometimes, like a heartbeat in the walls of the cosmos. It wasn't dead, merely waiting. And that made her vigilant. So she trained. She traveled. She spoke. Not as a leader. Not as a weapon. But as a witness. She visited worlds still in chains and showed them how to unlock their own. She sat beside alien philosophers and debated the ethics of power. She taught children, of all species, that they didn't have to be what others expected. And on the 10th anniversary of Black Reach, a monument was built, not to her but to what she refused. A throne of obsidian, broken in half. At its feet, a single inscription. I chose not to sit. Alira Voss. The unintended spark. What Alira didn't realize, what no one expected, was how her actions would ripple beyond this galaxy. Uncontacted civilizations, listening through forgotten wormholes, intercepted her story. One of them, the Shalith, had never known rebellion. Their entire species was bred for servitude. But when they heard the phrase, "You are not what they made you," they questioned for the first time in 10,000 years. That question became a movement. The Shalith rebellion was bloody. but it was theirs. 6. A phrase that endured. Time passed. Empires fell. Others rose. Stars burned out and were reborn. The names of Kale, Roan, and Miro blurred into legend. Even Illyra faded, never forgotten but no longer seen. Some say she still walks, never aging, watching. Others claim she ascended into higher space. And some believe she never existed at all. Just a story. A warning. A hope. But in the dark places, where tyrants whisper to children that choice is weakness, one phrase still echoes. Human, don't stop. 7. Final moment. A starship glides through the quiet edge of the Orion Arm. A young pilot tunes into a rogue broadcast frequency. An old voice plays. Tired. Fierce. Familiar. To whoever you are, wherever you are, this is not a warning. It's a promise. You are not what they made you. You are what you choose to become. And if they fear that, let them. The pilot smiles and fires up their engines. Closing line based on your theme. The universe thought it had witnessed the last of humanity's defiance. But somewhere on a distant world, a small light flickered, a signal, a voice, a challenge. And the stars braced for what was coming next.